Chapter 81. You are the fastest man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Conceding possession early in the game shattered Ralph Rusa's hopes. Before the match, he kept telling the players that they just couldn't let Ye Chen score. Even if he did score, they couldn't let him get 3 in a row. As for winning, he kept his real thoughts to himself. He knew the gap between the two teams was too big. Victory was a pipe dream. The game itself just proved how mismatched they were. Aside from Ye Chen's game-changing goal, their possession rate was terrible. Dresden struggled to even get the ball across midfield. That's just the difference between a Bundesliga champion and a regular Bundesliga team, a world apart. Ralph Rus immediately abandoned any hope of winning and focused on preventing Ye Chen from making history. "We may not win, but we can stop you from setting a record, right?" that he thought. "This is Germany, kid." Ralph Rus called Fear over to the sideline. "Have Cocteau stay glued to Ye. Don't give him any space for long-range shots. Keep the pressure on him, he likes to cut inside, so don't let up until half-time." That they had analyzed Ye Chen thoroughly before the game. His right foot was his dominant foot. He never shot with his left, so, as long as they kept him contained, they could keep him from cutting inside. But Ye Chen surprised everyone, fans and the visiting team alike. He scored with a left-footed shot, something nobody had ever seen him do. And because Coke was following the coach's instructions, he was positioned to block Ye Chen's right foot. This showed how important pre-game planning was, but if the plan was wrong, it could backfire badly. Now, Ralph Rus was changing his tactics. They'd keep pressing Ye Chen, but he scrapped the weaker foot strategy. He just wanted his players to swarm him and play tough defense. "Got it, coach." Ye Chen, meanwhile, didn't realize Dresden had ratcheted up their defense against him. He just kept running with the two midfielders. His idea was simple: they'd tire out eventually. Even though Dresden had substitutes, Klopp had pointed out before the game that there was a huge difference in quality between their starters and their bench, and playing tough defense wasn't easy. The game went on. Dortmund had scored, which improved their situation, but they were still trying out new tactics, and the players weren't quite in sync yet. Ye Chen was actively moving around, creating space, and that did generate some good opportunities for the team. At 26 minutes and 24 seconds. Ye Chen took the ball on the left and passed it to Grosskreutz. He took a hopeful shot, but it hit the side netting. Then, at 27 minutes and 12 seconds, Ye Chen got the ball again but couldn't turn. Instead, he passed it to the left. Gundogan, who had moved into position, took a shot right away, but the ball sailed just over the crossbar. Klopp noticed that even though they had conceded a goal, Dresden's defense hadn't fallen apart. They weren't trying to attack either. Even their forward, Porter, had retreated to defend in front of the penalty area. Klopp wondered how long they could hold out, playing defensively after only 10 minutes. Dresden soon provided the answer: they could last until half-time. Yep, Dortmund had taken 9 shots, but only 3 were on target. Ye Chen had 2 shots in the first half, and both were on target, but he only scored once. His second shot was much tougher. Ye Chen finally understood why the system wanted him to score 3 goals for the silver treasure box. It was a tall order. Breaking through a tight defense was hard, no matter where you were in the world. At halftime, Klopp adjusted his tactics. He moved Götze into the center as an attacking midfielder to improve their penetration in the middle. Sven Bender was subbed out, and Chris Lowe came on at left back. Grosskreutz, who had been on the left, moved to the right. The 4-3-3 formation wasn't working out, but Klopp didn't blame Ye Chen. Given how tough Dresden's defense was, it wouldn't matter if Messi was out there. It was clear Dresden was doing everything they could to stop Ye Chen from breaking a record. They were practically surrounding him with 10 guys. During the break, Ye Chen decided he wouldn't worry about the hat-trick or anything else. He'd just focus on completing the 3-goal task for the system. If he didn't break the record this time, he could try again next time, but he couldn't afford to fail the task. There would be a penalty. Wait a minute. Ye Chen opened the taskbar and was surprised by what he saw. Apparently, there was no penalty for failing this task. What's up with the system? The host is already determined to win this game. There's no need to force him through mandatory tasks. Of course, failing the task means no reward, and that's punishment enough for the host. That made sense. The silver treasure chest held great rewards. Missing out on it by failing the mission was a huge loss. After all, who couldn't use more money? He wouldn't worry about that now, he'd deal with it after completing the task. The treasure chest would genuinely help him improve. The fact that the system wasn't making him get a hat-trick showed it wasn't betting on him. Or maybe the system just didn't care if Ye Chen made football history, that was just icing on the cake and wouldn't help him in any meaningful way. Don't forget, the system was called the Ball God system, only real improvement mattered. There were plenty of examples in soccer of players who won big and then coasted, going downhill fast. Adriano and Ronaldinho came to mind. Klopp approached Ye Chen. They're using a tactic on you similar to the one they use on Messi. I need you to change things up and use the rules to your advantage. If they keep fouling you, exaggerate it so the ref sees their rough play. Ye Chen thought of a meme, Messi lying on the grass, with the caption, "I'm Messi, and I'm panicking." According to the first half stats, Ye Chen had been fouled 5 times, and 3 of them were called, but no cards were issued. Bundesliga players might not be as skilled, but they were tough and knew how to sell a call, especially when they saw the ref coming. They'd start begging for mercy. "I got it, boss." Ye Chen nodded seriously. It was like giving candy to a crying kid. If you were strong and sensible, people would ignore you and take advantage of you by saying, "You're so mature." "Alright, we'll keep feeding you the ball, but you need to run harder and create space if you want to score." Klopp said seriously. Ye Chen nodded, "I will. But the team's victory is more important than any record." Klopp laughed. "Don't sweat it, they're just a Bundesliga team. By the way, Ye, I don't think you've been playing at your best this game." "What do you mean?" Ye Chen asked, taking a drink of water. "Speed." Klopp said, "Remember, you're the fastest guy in the Bundesliga." Pfft. Ye Chen spat out his water. "I'm the fastest guy." Chapter 82. Dresden's tactics succeeded. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Trying to overachieve can make things harder. Early on, everyone was hunting for Ye Chen, who was constantly swarmed by multiple defenders. This stifled Dortmund's attack in the first half. The once vibrant Westfalen Stadion, ignited by Ye Chen, went quiet even though the fans chanted team songs and cheered for Ye Chen. Something felt off. Even the commentator was sighing. Dortmund's trying a new approach, giving Ye Chen tons of freedom, but it's just not working. His colleague nodded. Drawing on his coaching experience, he cut right to the chase. The problem is Ye Chen himself. How so? After a moment's thought, he explained, Dortmund thrives on quick, nimble plays. Their usual game plan is a blend of wing and center action, with a 4-2-3-1 formation. The midfielder is the brain of the attack. But today, they switched to 4-3-3, making Ye Chen the core. Gundogan is clearly uncomfortable in that position, and Ye Chen is getting shut down by Solega and Schultz in the midfield. It's paralyzing Dortmund's offense. They've tweaked the style in the second half, even subbing in Götze and Gross-Kreutz, but they can't match Ye Chen's skill up front. Sure, Ye Chen's inside cuts are a thing of beauty, but the opposition will see it coming. They're not going to let him cut inside. And today's opponent's tactics are very simple: shut down Ye Chen's shots and passes. They are not worried about the rest of the team. So, the commentator asked, does Ye Chen still have a shot at setting a world record? It's a long shot. Why would they want a Chinese player to break a world record? He sighed. The commentator's eyes widened in realization. So, these VIPs aren't here to witness history, but to watch Ye Chen fail? Not necessarily, but that world record is on hold. Hearing this, the fans watching at home grew concerned and the Dortmund bar was buzzing with debate. Why are so many big names here? He's right. Ye Chen making that record is awesome for him and Dortmund, but it's embarrassing for the entire Bundesliga. I'm an international student, and people are saying the Bundesliga isn't even as good as the J-League. I'm worried about Ye Chen. It's not just one player he's up against, it's the whole Bundesliga. No wonder players don't want to study abroad. Too much behind-the-scenes BS. Come on, Ye Chen. Hang in there, Ye Chen. I'm putting this on record, if Ye Chen makes history, I'm buying a Real number 16 jersey. Me too, that the fans were cheering Ye Chen on in their own way. Back at the stadium, the fans had settled in. Lina's face was etched with worry. Ye, you can do this, that with only 45 minutes left, could Ye Chen make history? The referee blew the whistle, starting the second half, but the fans could see that Dortmund had shifted their strategy. They were back to 4-2-3-1, with Götze running the midfield, and Dortmund's attack flowed smoothly. 48 minutes and 14 seconds in, Schmelzer passed to Ye Chen, who was immediately confronted by Solega and Schultz. Ye Chen stayed calm and charged ahead. His speed helped him to blow past the two defenders and head straight for the end line. But then what? Solega and Schultz blocked both the inside and the passing lanes. At best, he'll get a corner kick. All they had to do was stop him from breaking through and shooting. Ye Chen saw right through them. Just as Ye Chen drew in three defenders, he sent a clever backheel pass to Schmelzer. As the best left-back in the Bundesliga last season, Schmelzer delivered great performances on both offense and defense. Schmelzer passed it to Götze at the top of the arc. The two midfielders had been pulled out, and Koch was closer to Ye Chen on the left. The top of the penalty area was exposed, the central defender Stoll came out, and Götze passed the ball through, finding Grosskreutz, who ran diagonally into the penalty area. This was probably the easiest game for Grosskreutz, because he was wide open. He only had to make a short shot to the near corner, the goalkeeper dove, but he missed the ball, and Dot scored again. Dortmund now led 2-0. Grosskreutz hugged Götze. Götze was thrilled. He had just earned €3,000, that was enough to spend a night out at the bar. Although Dort scored, Ye Chen couldn't be happy. Dresden's resolve was clear. Dortmund could score, but Ye Chen couldn't. Ye Chen wasn't even close to the penalty box. That backheel pass was pure genius. Schmelzer said with a grin. Yeah, but it's tough out there. Ye Chen managed a weak smile. Frustrated, Ye Chen punched the air. Solega and Schultz exchanged smiles, and Ralf Ruth smiled on the sidelines. Ye Chen was getting desperate. With his head in the wrong space, how could he score? The camera zoomed in on the scene. After replaying the goal, they showed this specific scene. The commentator then said, Dortmund scored, but he doesn't look happy. Under intense pressure, it's getting harder for him to score. With under 40 minutes left, he needs 2 goals to make history. He must be stressed. Dresden's tactics worked. They've managed to shut down Ye. He's only 17, even though he has a streak of 4 hat tricks. It seems he'll stop at 4. 5 hat tricks in a row is too much. But life is full of what-ifs. Seeing Ye Chen's mindset, the commentator was pessimistic. Just then, Götze ran over to cheer up Ye Chen, patting him on the back, but Ye Chen shook him off, saying, I'm fine, leave me alone. That he had dreamed of 5 straight records. Now, he was not so sure. Chapter 83 Super huge mistake. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Klopp watched Ye Chen on the field with intense interest. He knew Ye Chen, and this anger seemed out of character, almost unnatural. Was it some kind of trick? Like they say, if something seems off, it probably is. After all, you'd expect teammates to be happy when someone scores. Just as Klopp was pondering this, the game restarted. Porter passed the ball to Fear, and Ye Chen immediately charged forward. Fear passed it back to Solega in midfield. Solega wasn't rushing. He was waiting for Ye Chen to charge at him, lost in his supposed anger, and sure enough, Ye Chen did. His teammates exchanged stunned glances. Ye Chen was acting weird. Had he really lost it? Still, Dortmund continued their full-court press, something ingrained in them after a season of relentless training. Ye Chen barreled toward Solega, who, instead of panicking, passed the ball back to Bregli behind him. Just as Ye Chen got close, he was toying with Ye Chen. Ye Chen charged again. Bregli, just like Solega, held on to the ball, waiting. Seeing Ye Chen closing in, he casually passed it back to goalkeeper Hesser, then ran to the side, signaling for the keeper to pass it back. The fans could see they were playing games with Ye Chen. And Ye Chen, furious, He kept after the goalkeeper like a bull seeing red. As the goalkeeper saw Ye Chen coming, he passed the ball to Stole on the left without a second thought. Stole took possession, and Ye Chen was right on him again. The crowd lost count of how many times Ye Chen had chased the ball back and forth, and they started to feel sorry for him, seeing him get bullied like this. "Come on, help Ye Chen out. What are you doing? Get moving. Ye, don't sweat it. We've got time." That the crowd roared their support, but could Ye Chen even hear them? He went after Stole again, but Stole got cocky and even tried a bicycle kick. Was this supposed to be the hot new European star? Just a mindless fool. Worth $300 million. Hilarious. Stole got a little too cute with the ball, though, and Ye Chen was fast. His pass was rushed. The ball squeezed past Ye Chen and went to Schultz in midfield. Seeing Ye Chen getting the runaround, Schultz grinned. He had been following Ye Chen all game, now it was his turn to mess with him. "Come get it. I'm waiting." Schultz waited for the pass, keeping his eyes locked on Ye Chen. "Arnie, watch your back," Stole shouted a warning. His pass had been too slow and weak, and Schultz was just waiting to receive it. Dortmund had an opening. Schultz, beaming with smug satisfaction, was caught off guard. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a yellow blur behind him. Without knowing who it was, his first instinct was to pass it back to the safety of the goalkeeper. Oh, but Schultz, rushing his kick, completely botched it, sending the ball wobbling. In that instant, Ye Chen transformed into a ferocious beast, intercepting the ball's path. Snap! A crisp sound. Ye Chen intercepted the weak pass. Bregley, standing nearby, didn't react. Ye Chen spun and drove straight into the penalty area. The game had suddenly shifted. The Dresden players who had been enjoying the show suddenly panicked, but Ye Chen was already one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Hessel, who had also been watching the performance, suddenly saw Ye Chen dribbling the ball into his area. Panic set in, and he charged forward. Everything was happening so fast, he could barely think, but as soon as he moved, he remembered the coach's warning. This guy can shoot. He hesitated and stopped. That's when Ye Chen, inside the box, made his move. Oh, Hessel's vision seemed to darken, and he instinctively reached for the ball, but the shot was too fast. His body froze, like he'd been shot. His brain was a mess. Where was he? What was he doing? What had just happened? Not just him, but the whole stadium was in shock. They had watched Ye Chen getting run around, and in the blink of an eye, he had the ball and was tearing into the penalty area. Dresden was screwing around. Trying to play like Barcelona without Barcelona's skill. How could they risk playing it back in their own box? Hessel, his body rigid, met Ye Chen's gaze and felt a chill run down his spine. Those dark eyes held no trace of anger, just calm. Composed. Like a cold-blooded assassin. How could someone like that ever be angry? That's right. He was faking it. But it was too late because, with a boom, Hessel crashed to the ground. When he turned to look at the goal, the football landed with him, bouncing twice on the grass before stopping. Hessel finally understood that they had been played. Ye Chen's anger had been a ruse, designed to lull them into a false sense of security. And they had fallen for it. That sneaky Chinese guy. Rewind half a minute. Ye Chen, having stolen the ball, charged into the box. Seeing Hessel hesitate, changing his weight, Ye Chen, with the ball at his feet, didn't hesitate. He shot. Oh, Ye Chen was like a hitman who had pulled the trigger. And the football was his bullet. Hessel, in front of the net, flinched and crashed to the ground, exactly like he'd been shot. Ye Chen, having scored, grinned. He sprinted to the corner flag, held up 2 fingers, twirled them in the air, jumped high, and landed perfectly after spinning. Shoo! The fans roared along with Ye Chen. Many still didn't know what had just happened. Gotze and several teammates swarmed him, and they all piled on each other in a group hug. Ye, great job. Ye, you were faking that anger, right? Totally fake. Ye Chen admitted. Man, your acting is amazing. Oscar owes you a statue. Ye, just one more goal, that the teammates excitedly chatted, but Ye Chen just smiled, scoring a brace in 40 minutes against Dynamo Dresden in the Bundesliga. Wasn't that enough to be getting on with? The announcer had already started screaming into the microphone, hyping up the crowd. The fans chanted Ye Chen's name. The goal had come out of nowhere, but with 2 goals in 2 minutes, Dortmund were leading Dresden 3-0 at home. In the Penguin Live broadcast, Jean Jun was speechless. Jean-Lu spoke instead. He scored. Jean-Lu said in disbelief. Everyone thought Ye Chen was running around like a headless chicken, but who knew it would actually work? Jean-Lu continued, that goal is perfectly legal because it was a back pass from a Dresden player, so there's no offside. Schultz made a huge mistake. It wasn't until then that Jean Jun finally spoke. Super, huge, rookie mistake. It's like Schultz just gave Ye Chen a goal. Ye Chen has scored twice. Just one more goal and he can set a Guinness World Record in football. That goal. Jean-Lu chuckled. I can only say that Ye Chen's performance was incredible. He didn't look angry at all. That temper tantrum was just an act. Jean Jun shook his head and sighed. Maybe that's his way, pretending to be an idiot so the other team thinks he's given up. It reminds me of a saying, the most dangerous hunters often appear as prey. Ye Chen is a high-end hunter. Chapter 84 Ferguson shot, I want to bring Manchester United's kids back to Old Trafford. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dortmund 3-0 Dresden. Ye Chen knocked out his initial goal early in the game but he still has bigger fish to fry. He's going for the hat trick. Dresden's players were feeling the heat after giving up 2 quick goals but their coach, Ralf Ruth, kept barking orders from the sidelines. Heads up, people. The game ain't over till it's over, and Ye hasn't broken any records yet. Let's go, show some hustle. Truth be told, Ralf Ruth was ready to explode. The first goal was a killer. Ye Chen's inside cut was straight out of Robben's playbook, a total cheat. The second goal? Not much they could do, everyone was glued to Ye Chen. Defense was spread thin, but the third goal? Seriously? They were practically begging for it, getting punked like that at Westfalenstadion. Was this some kind of joke? He had to keep it together. The game was still on, they were already outmatched. If their heads went south, they might as well pack it in. Despite the sideline shouting, the players looked lost. Could they really stop Ye Chen with almost 40 minutes left? His running, dribbling, shooting, he was on fire today. How could they keep him from scoring again? Their confidence was crumbling. Meanwhile, online forums in Japan were going nuclear. It's over. Game over. Zhongshan's Guinness record is toast. Damn China. Why do they have to be so good? Is Marvin Ye really only 17? Is he even Chinese? Where did China dig up this monster? If he joins their national team, we're screwed. Okay, I gotta admit, he's kinda hot. He might be breaking our guy's record, but he's amazing. I'm a fan. Maybe it was the pressure cooker of Japanese society, but some people were definitely digging the pain. The better he was, the more they loved to hate him. The South Korean forums were a whole different vibe. Does Ye Chen Appa have Korean blood? I did some digging. His mother's sister's grandfather was Korean. That explains everything. Ye Chen Appa is coming home. I have a plan to make South Korea the kings of Asian soccer. I heard Ye Chen Appa had a falling out with the Chinese FA. Why don't we scoop him up? Ye Chen Appa, retire and come play for us. I'll be your biggest fan. Our son Heung-min is in the Bundesliga too, but he's nowhere near as good. Don't even compare them. Ye Chen Appa is the best in Asia. End of story. There's no easy way to the top. Raw talent is the ultimate ticket. Ye Chen's goals showed off his smarts, speed, explosiveness, and killer shot, but most of all, he stayed cool under pressure. Ferguson was hooked. He was exactly the player Ferguson needed to fill Ronaldo's shoes. Ever since Cristiano Ronaldo bounced to Real Madrid, Manchester United had held their own, even reaching the Champions League final again, but they kept losing to Barcelona. Twice. 2-0 once. 3-1 the other time. Lionel Messi was a pain in Ferguson's side, but he believed he could mold Ye Chen into a Messi-level player. Then, he could lead United to another Champions League title and finally get revenge on Barcelona. He just hadn't thought about one thing: would Ye Chen even want to go? Ferguson leaned over to David Gill in the stands, his voice low and serious. Offer €50 million and trigger his release clause. I want that kid back at Old Trafford. You sure? You really want to pay that much? He's only 17. David Gill hesitated. If we don't move fast, Dortmund will lock him down with a new contract. This will be a steal for €50 million. Ferguson said. He grabbed his phone and texted Mendez. Jorge, got time for a drink after the game? I want to talk to ye about coming to Manchester United. Dortmund hasn't even accepted your £30 million offer, right? Doesn't matter. We're ready to drop €50 million. Ferguson said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Mendez's jaw dropped when he saw the message. Classic Fergie, the man had some serious guts. Once the release clause was activated, Manchester United could negotiate directly with Ye Chen. No permission from Dortmund needed, but Ye Chen was clueless. He was still laser-focused on scoring his third goal. Time flew by, and the 60-minute mark came and went. Salega and Schultz were gassed from all the running, so Ralf Ruth subbed them out for Heller and Choupan. Heller was an attacking midfielder, while Choupan was a defensive midfielder/centre-back. His plan was simple: hunker down for the last 30 minutes. Heller's job wasn't to create chances. He was there to be a pest. For the last half hour, he had one job: stick to Ye Chen like glue. Double-teaming became one-on-one, and the pressure on Ye Chen eased up a bit, and he was getting the ball a lot more. 65 minutes, 24 seconds, Ye Chen took the ball on the left, Heller right in his face. Koch hung back, ready to step in if Heller got beat. Ye Chen dribbled, closing in on Heller, who backpedaled, eyes glued to the ball. Watch the ball, not the player. That's how you avoid getting faked out. Just like trying to defend Messi's shoulder feints. If you don't watch his shoulders, you won't get burned. Of course, Heller wasn't a pure defender. Against a guy like Ye Chen, it was all about positioning and cutting off angles, not throwing himself into tackles. Spotting the edge of the box, Ye Chen suddenly shifted gears. He tried a bicycle kick, but Heller didn't bite. The moment his foot landed, Ye Chen cut inside, nudging the ball a step toward the middle with his right foot. He actually had enough space to take a shot, but Koch and Bregel were right behind him, ready to block it. So he faked it, but the fake was so convincing that Heller's body shifted to his left, trying to intercept the shot. Ye Chen pulled his foot back, flicked the ball with his instep, and popped it to the left. Ye Chen exploded with speed, blowing past Heller on the left. Seeing Ye Chen's sudden change of direction, Heller desperately tried to turn around, but Ye Chen was already gone. But Heller wasn't giving up. He reached out and grabbed Ye Chen. Ye Chen's jersey stretched and deformed, and the force sent him sprawling to the ground. Beep! The ref immediately blew his whistle and pointed to the penalty spot. Heller clutched his head, realizing what he'd done, but he was trying his best. Koch came over and patted Heller on the shoulder. It's okay, that Chinese kid is just too fast. Koch said quietly. Ye Chen, lying on the ground, gritted his teeth. Too fast, my ass. In the broadcast booth, Jean Jun and Jean-Luc perked up. Ye Chen was about to make history and maybe bag himself a Guinness World Record. As professional commentators, they had to be on point, ready to catch every amazing moment. We see Ye Chen facing Heller. Heller's an attacking midfielder, not really a defender. It's tough to ask him to do this dirty work. Ye Chen's moving. Ye Chen cut inside, then flawlessly sent the ball to his left foot all in one smooth motion. He beat him. Beautiful. Heller grabbed Ye Chen's jersey, and Ye Chen goes down. Foul. That's a penalty in the box, 100%. That's right, Ye Chen earned himself a penalty. Folks, are you ready for this? Is China about to break a Guinness World Record? Ye Chen gets to his feet, grabs the ball. Come hell or high water, Ye Chen's taking this one. That with Zhang Jun's voice cranking up the excitement, fans everywhere dropped what they were doing and focused on Ye Chen. Was he about to make history? Chapter 85. How can I not burst into tears at this moment? You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the field, the crowd went silent. Every one of the 80,000 plus fans had spontaneously leaped to their feet. In the stands, Lina clasped her hands nervously in front of her chest, her face flushed. Even Ferguson, who'd been sitting calmly just a moment ago, was now standing. Jono Taro and Makino Tomoki were, understandably, the most uncomfortable. Makino Tomoki was kicking himself. If only he'd been more aggressive, if only he'd taken Ye Chen out of the game. He'd be a national hero. But now it was too late. Ye Chen hadn't taken many penalties, but he'd converted every one he took. The Sakura country fans were mortified. The penalty hadn't even been taken, but they knew Nakayama's record was about to fall. In Tokyo's most famous sports school, Masashi Nakayama poured himself a drink. His eyes, already unfocused, drifted to the most prominent spot in the room, a framed Guinness World Record certificate. Next to it hung another photo, a group shot from the official Guinness World Records award ceremony. Was this really the end? Back at Westfalen Stadion, Ye Chen approached the penalty spot. Ball in hand, the fans erupted in a chant of Ye Chen's name. Hala hala Ye Chen Ye Chen. Ye Chen from China. Our favorite Chinese star, Ye Chen Ye Chen. Our unstoppable Ye Chen. That Ye Chen checked the ground at the penalty mark, then carefully placed the ball, while Dresden players argued with the referee. Heller, who'd committed the foul, walked over to Ye Chen. Hey kid, you're not scoring. We've studied your penalties. Heil sneered. You always go for the lower right corner, don't you? Ye Chen ignored him, focusing on the referee. Leave the penalty area, or I'll book you. The referee warned the Dresden players. Just talking to the goalie. Heller sped up, jogging towards his goalkeeper. As he passed the penalty spot, he subtly nudged the ball with the outside of his foot. It was a tiny movement, easy to miss. Every player has their preferences for ball placement on penalties. Any slight change in position can throw off their shot. There'd been a case where a goalkeeper tampered with the grass near the penalty spot, causing the kicker to slip and miss. In this case, Heller wouldn't be severely punished as long as the ball is kicked after the whistle. Whether it's a goal or not, there would be no repercussions. Unless players enter the box early, or the keeper comes off his line before the kick. Of course, the referee holds the ultimate authority. I nudged the ball to the left, you dive right. Heller whispered to Hessel. Got it. The referee urged Heller away. Heller scurried off, leaving the rest to fate. The crowd fell silent. Every eye was on Ye Chen. Hessel, in goal, bounced lightly, clapping his hands. Come on, kid. But then, Ye Chen walked back to the spot, carefully repositioned the ball, and checked his footing again. This. Heller's face froze. His trick had been spotted. Hessel was equally stunned. He'd been trying to mess with Ye Chen's head, and now he was the one rattled. Which way should he dive? Doesn't matter, commit to the right. That's what the coaching staff suggested. Ye Chen likes to blast it with power, just like his long shots. Beep. The referee blew the whistle, signaling Ye Chen could take the kick. Ye Chen took a breath and ran, his left foot planted firmly, and his right foot swung like a whip. Tap. Not a resounding thud. A delicate touch. Yes. Just as Ye Chen's foot was about to connect, Hessel anticipated the power shot and lunged to his right. The angle was tight, he had to commit early. But as he dove, Ye Chen chipped the ball softly over him. A perfectly executed chip. Goal. Did you see that? A spoon penalty. At this moment, Ye has made football history. He's the first player ever to score 5 consecutive hat-tricks. And he's our Dortmund player. Let's hear it for Ye. Chen. After scoring, Ye Chen sprinted towards the south stand. The hardcore fans at Westfalenstadion roared his name. Ye Chen was the pride of every Dortmund fan. They showered him with applause and cheers. Ye Chen himself roared with joy. I actually did it, his teammates piled on, hoisting him onto their shoulders and tossing him in the air. Wow! Ye, you made history. Ye, you're the best. Ye, you're our pride. The stadium erupted in a cacophony of cheers. They'd witnessed history. They were a part of it. How could they not be ecstatic? In the Penguin Live broadcast room, just moments before, Zhang Jun was taking deep breaths to compose himself. Ye Chen faces Hezel. While Hezel isn't a household name, he's got a knack for saving penalties. He stopped 2 already in the first 10 Bundesliga games. Zhang Lu chuckled. This Heil is playing mind games. He's trying to get under Ye Chen's skin. Zhang Jun said seriously, let's hope Ye Chen doesn't let it affect him. He needs to keep a cool head. But remember, even though he's only 17, Ye Chen's penalty record is perfect. 100% so far. The referee blew the whistle. On the field, Ye Chen began his run-up. Just as his foot was about to make contact, there was a subtle pause. With a delicate flick of the toe, the ball floated in an exquisite arc into the net. A spoon penalty. Zhang Jun exclaimed, his voice rising. That takes guts and skill. Ha 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 ha. Zhang Lu burst out laughing. History is made. History for Chinese football. The 60-year-old director Zhang was like a kid again. Who would have thought a 17-year-old kid from China would score 3 goals in 5 straight Bundesliga games, 15 goals in 5 games. These 5 consecutive hat-tricks break the Guinness World Record set by Sakura's Nakayama Masashi. This is a moment for all Chinese fans to cherish. Young Ye Chen has made history. The history of Chinese football. Chinese fans, are you ready to explode? At this moment, how can I not cry? Zhang Jun's voice was choked with emotion. When passion runs deep, tears flow freely, even the strongest men can be moved, and at this moment, Chinese fans had waited long enough. Chapter 86. I want to enter 2 more. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tears might not be worth much, but they're essential for letting it all out. When Ye Chen scored, tons of Chinese fans couldn't hold back the tears. It's not that men don't cry, it's just that they haven't been pushed to the edge yet. Only they know how tough these past years have been. Remember when they swore my heart can't break anymore? Then China lost to Iraq at the Bird's Nest during the World Cup qualifiers, and every fan in the country felt the pain. Their hopes for the 2014 World Cup were crushed, and the national team's 7-year undefeated streak against Iraq ended. But now, they've found a reason to believe again. Ye Chen, playing in the Bundesliga, is a beacon of hope in the darkness of Chinese soccer, and what's even better is that his amazing performances are making that light grow brighter. Those 5 straight hat-tricks. That light was blinding. And right on cue, that giant banner from before the game went up again. The photo of Ye Chen holding his Guinness World Record certificate was on display for the whole world. In that moment, his name was etched into the history of soccer. Over on the Sakura country's soccer forums, fans were losing it. We're done. It's game over. Okay, Ye's strong, but he needed 5 games to score 15 goals. Our Zhongshan Jun only needed 4. Yeah. Zhongshan still got this. Not only is he not losing, he's even better than Ye Chen. That became the popular opinion real fast, with fans swarming to agree. Some even piped up saying they weren't sore losers, but it was just facts. The numbers don't lie. Ye Chen only broke the record for 4 straight hat-tricks, but he didn't beat the record for scoring 16 goals in 4 games. Of course, nobody really cares about that specific record anymore. because from the second Ye Chen took that penalty kick, Masashi Zhongshan's record became history. There's a new Guinness World Record holder in town. Back at Westfalen Stadion, Ye Chen took a couple of deep breaths to calm down, then he pulled Gotze aside. "Mario, do me a solid." "What's up? What do you need?" Gotze asked, grinning. Ye Chen was younger, but in soccer, age doesn't matter as much as skill. Plus, Ye Chen was pretty mature, so Gotze respected him a lot. He wouldn't call him Ye bro or anything, but if Ye Chen needed something, he was happy to help out. "I want 2 more goals. Get me the ball," Ye Chen said, serious. "Whoa." Gotze gasped. "You sure?" "Absolutely. Just 2. "Why?" "Because Zhongshan Masashi scored 16 in 4 games, so I'm gonna score 17 in 5. Ye Chen said, with a flash of determination in his eyes. According to the internet, Zhongshan Masashi didn't score at all in his 5th game after racking up those 16 goals. If Ye Chen could get 2 more here, it'd prove he's got more endurance and is just plain better. As that announcer Zhang Jun would say, "Gold lasts forever." And since Gotze was playing attacking midfielder, all the balls would be coming through him. "All right." Gotze looked at Ye Chen, surprised. A hat trick wasn't enough. He wanted a 5-goal game. This guy was intense. The game resumed. Dortmund was already up 4-0 against Dresden, so the rest of the game was just going through the motions, but as soon as it started back up, Ye Chen was hustling. The commentator sounded confused. "We see that Ye, even after his hat trick, isn't slowing down. He's pressing hard after Dresden kicks off. Is he trying to recreate that second goal? I doubt the Dresden players will fall for that again." And he was right. The Dresden players weren't about to trick Ye Chen, and they booted the ball way downfield. Their defense was jumpy, afraid to make any mistakes, but the ball ended up back at Dortmund's feet. Gotze made a point to drop back and control the ball, setting the pace. He knew what Ye Chen was thinking, but the Dresden players were on edge, so it wouldn't be easy. First, they had to lull them into a false sense of security. For the next 10 minutes, Dortmund held on to the ball. The clock ticked to 77 minutes and 24 seconds, Ye Chen was still dribbling down the left side and Heller was still in front of him. "Think you can stop me?" Ye Chen asked as he moved the ball forward. Heller didn't say a word this time. Then, Ye Chen made his move. All players have a tell before they start dribbling. Messi does a little hop, while Ye Chen leans forward slightly, ready to explode into action. Holding the ball on the left, Ye Chen pushed it to the outside and cut inside. Robin always cuts to the right because he's a lefty. But Ye Chen is right-footed, just like Bayern's Frank Ribery. Of course, Ye Chen wants to become a 2-footed monster, able to move left or right like Messi. De Bruyne is one of those guys, and he learned to use both feet because when he was a kid, kicking with his dominant foot would break the neighbors' windows, so they always played with their weaker feet. But the basic movement is the same. The moment Ye Chen started, Heil didn't shift his weight. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice. Heller got fooled on the 3rd penalty, so he just grabbed the jersey. It was a total reflex. So this time he waited for Ye Chen to move first, figuring he wouldn't fall for any fakes, but when Ye Chen took off, all Heller saw was his dust. Like an AE86 trying to keep up with a Bugatti Veyron. But Koch reacted fast and covered the position. Seeing Koch coming, Ye Chen rubbed the outside of his foot against the bottom of the ball, shifting it sideways along the edge of the box. This protected the ball, and made it hard for the defense to guess which way he was going. Ye Chen had at least 3 options. 1. Go past him. 2. Keep cutting inside. 3. Just shoot. Koch tried to run sideways, but Ye Chen was too fast, and he created some separation. Love, watching from the sidelines, gasped. Lowe was at Bayern's last home game, a perk for the national team coach. Robin cut in from the wing and scored an amazing goal. Apart from switching from right to left, Ye Chen's moves and speed were almost identical. That's an insane ability to learn, but Ye Chen didn't hear him. After shaking off Koch, he didn't hesitate and took a volley with his right foot. He didn't have a long-range shot card, but he was feeling good, and he was confident in his shooting. His shooting stat was at 85. Not the best, but excellent in soccer. Especially among young players, Ye Chen was the best. The ball bounced on the ground and flew towards the goal. The central defender Bregley stretched his foot out to block, but he was too far. In fact, he blocked Hessel's view. When he finally saw the ball flying through the crowd, he was too slow to react, and he could only watch it go into the net. Shoot! The ball hit the back of the net, making the net ripple. After scoring, Ye Chen ran excitedly to the corner flag and dropped to his knees. If you're gonna copy someone, copy everything. Don't half-ass it. Robin's kneeling celebration is pretty cool, too. Chapter 87 Football Story, The Story of Lima and Bole. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dortmund crushes Dresden 5-0 at home. Nobody saw that score coming. And get this, Ye Chen personally orchestrated 4 of those goals. The crowd was going wild. That's what you call getting your money's worth. But after Ye Chen dropped to his knees to celebrate, his smile suddenly vanished. The fans watched, stunned, as Ye Chen, mid-celebration, jumped up and sprinted towards the coach's bench. "Coach, hold on," Ye Chen yelled as he ran. Sure enough, the 4th official was already holding up the substitution board, number 16 out, number 26 in. Klopp looked at Ye Chen, bewildered. "What's wrong? I can still play. I want to score another one." Ye Chen shouted, desperate. He had to yell. The fans were so loud, Klopp couldn't hear him otherwise. Ralph Ruth, standing nearby, heard him loud and clear, and his face paled. "4 goals isn't enough for you? You think you're gonna fly to the sun or something?" Klopp was also taken aback. "4 goals isn't enough? That's plenty." He glanced at Ralph Ruth and saw the murderous glint in his eyes. If Ye Chen goes back on, he could get hurt. Thinking about Ye Chen's safety, Klopp still wanted to sub him out, but Ye Chen was adamant. "Coach, just give me a little more time. I really want to get another one." Ye Chen is stubborn. He said before the game he'd score 5, and he's determined to do it. Truth be told, he started the game doubting himself. With this level of competition, could he really score 5? But as the goals kept coming, he dug in his heels. This game would be his first 5-goal game. He just never expected that his biggest obstacle to scoring 5 goals wouldn't be Dresden, but Klopp. Klopp pulled Ye Chen aside. "You were too loud just now. Ralph over there is giving you the evil eye. You're just asking to get injured if you play longer. 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll come off immediately after 5 minutes." Ye Chen pleaded. "You got it. But whether you score or not, after 5 minutes, you're coming off," Klopp said sternly. "Deal," Ye Chen said, trying to sound confident, but his heart was pounding. Could he score 1 in 5 minutes? He had his doubts. Of course, all this stunned the commentators. Jean June, broadcasting on Penguin Live, smiled. "We've got some drama on the field." Ye Chen, fresh off scoring 4 goals, slid to his knees to celebrate and then bolted for the coach's bench. We can see that Klopp wants to replace young player Ye Chen with striker Kuba. But it looks like Ye Chen is saying, "It's too noisy to hear exactly," but he clearly doesn't want to come off. Zhang Lu laughed. "I think Ye Chen is feeling it today. He's in the zone and wants to score another one." John June's eyes widened. "No way. He wants to score a 5th. As you know, Masashi Nakayama scored 17 goals in 4 games, and Ye Chen has scored 4 in 5. Honestly, there's no need to compare. The Bundesliga is way more intense than the J-League. It's not even close." Klopp agreed to Ye Chen's request. "Looks like Klopp really likes our Ye Chen. Hey, if Ye Chen was on my team, I'd love him too," Zhang Lu said cheerfully. "But it might be better for Ye Chen to sit this one out. After all, he's already scored 4, and the other team is getting heated. If he keeps pushing, he could get hurt." Jean June nodded in agreement. But, as a fan, I gotta be honest, I want him to score one more. If Ye Chen can score another one, he'll be the second Dortmund player to score 5 goals in a single game. The last Dortmund player to score 5 goals in a row was Manfred Bergsmuller in 1985. You have to say, John June did his homework before the game, that's why so many fans like his commentary. He always has tons of stats at his fingertips. Ye Chen returned to the field, but Kuba still came on. He replaced Grosskreutz, who was playing as a winger today, and Dortmund's formation switched to a 4-2-4, with Götze moving to the right wing, because Dortmund's player pool is stretched thin, and there's a big gap between the starters and the substitutes. Players have to be versatile and play multiple positions, except for forwards. Of course, Dortmund currently has 4 forwards, Lewandowski, Barrios, Kuba, Lagerlof, and Ye Chen. Barrios is scheduled to return to training after the international break next month, which will only intensify the competition for a spot on the front line. Rumor has it that Kuba has already spoken with Klopp about transferring at the end of the season. After all, once Barrios recovers from his injury, Kuba won't even be a substitute. But Klopp doesn't want to let Kuba go. The reason is that Dortmund is competing on 3 fronts this season, with more games and fewer players. Even if the striker reserves seem plentiful right now, if 2 players get injured, Dortmund could find themselves in a tight spot. Both Götze and Grosskreutz played as forwards today, but the results were terrible. If they struggle this much against a Bundesliga team, how can they compete in the Champions League? The game restarted. After hearing Ye Chen's words, Ralf Ruth blankly pulled Fear aside and gave him one simple instruction. Take Ye Chen out. The Dresden players were seething, and their tackles became even more aggressive. 81 minutes, 24 seconds, Chris Lowe sent the ball to Ye Chen's feet from the left, and Ye Chen dribbled the ball towards Heller again, but before Ye Chen could make a move, Koch came in like a lumberjack and took him down with the ball. The referee gave Koch a yellow card. At 82 minutes and 41 seconds, Ye Chen dropped back to receive the ball, now at least 30 meters from the goal, but Schuppen, playing as a defensive midfielder, went in with a fierce tackle and kicked Ye Chen to the ground again. Ye Chen's ankle was bleeding, and Klopp was ready to use his final substitution to replace Ye Chen, but Ye Chen quickly waved his hands, brushed himself off, and got back up. Klopp didn't sub him out, but he made a gesture pointing to his watch, signaling that he was keeping his promise, but Ye Chen needed to do the same. Ye Chen took a deep breath. He knew that Ralf Ross had heard him and was now ordering his players to crank up the physical play, but so what? Did they think that would stop him from scoring? The time agreed upon with Klopp was down to less than 2 minutes, and Ye Chen got the ball again. 84 minutes, 21 seconds, Götze, for what felt like the 100th time, passed the ball to Ye Chen, this time a long ball across the halfway line. Ye Chen chested the ball down beautifully. As Ye Chen controlled the ball, the Dresden players immediately perked up. Ralf Ruth had just reminded them that he only had 5 minutes of playing time left. In those final 5 minutes, they couldn't let him score, no matter what. Chapter 88. Please don't go. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is Robin such a threat anywhere on the field? His speed, dribbling, and shot are world-class. Ye Chen's speed is also world-class, and his dribbling and shooting are now at the level of Europe's top leagues. While not exceptional, it's definitely enough to dominate these Bundesliga players. Time's running out, I have to make a move. 84 minutes, 30 seconds, Ye Chen, with the ball, is facing Heil again, but this time, he's got the double midfielder combo of Koch and Schuppen behind him, and the central defenders Bregli and Stoll are waiting for him right in front of the goal. They're ready and waiting for Ye Chen to bring the ball right to them. They want him to feel the sting of their cleats. On the sidelines, Lettner is ready to sub in. The 4th official is holding up the number. As soon as the play stops, the substitution will happen. Ye Chen knows this is his last chance. He takes a deep breath, eyes locked on the goal. All right, let's do this. He leans forward slightly, his glutes tight, toes gripping the ground. Heller is just as tense. Ye Chen doesn't bother with a fake, he just explodes, pure, unadulterated speed. He cuts hard to the side, accelerating instantly. Heller is beat again, but Koch steps up to block Ye Chen's path to the box as Schuppen slides in, but Ye Chen isn't heading straight for the penalty area. Instead, he dribbles sideways again. If Robin has his Robin zone on the right, then Ye Chen is creating his own Ye Chen zone today. He's moving so fast that he manages to push the ball a fraction of a step further out of the box with the inside of his right foot, just as Chupin dives into tackle. Inside the box, Bregli is marking Kuba, another central defender. Stoll rushes out to block the shot. Hezel, on the goal line, is glued to Ye Chen. The second he sees an opening, he'll pounce. Hezel has witnessed the power of Ye Chen's shot firsthand, the incredible force, the crazy angles, the bend he gets on the ball. He's ready to give it everything he's got. Ye Chen's pace is relentless. He evades Chupin's tackle, takes one more step forward, and before Koch and Stoll can close him down, he unleashes a shot. The ball curves beautifully, bypassing Stoll who lunged out to block it. Koch can only watch as the ball sails past. They knew he was going to cut inside. But they just couldn't stop it. They're powerless, left with only one hope. Hezel is locked on Ye Chen. The moment he sees him lift his foot, he explodes to his right like a cheetah. The ball is coming closer, but then his pupils shrink. Why is the ball getting further away from his outstretched hand? Thwack! The ball sails past Hezel and buries itself in the back of the net. Boom! The goal explodes like a bomb, igniting the Dortmund fans. The Westfalenstadion is shaking. Ye Chen stands there, fist raised, taking it all in, no words needed. Ye Chen's cut inside is electrifying the soccer world. On Penguin Live, Zhang Jun is screaming again. He's done it again. Xiaoye Feidao, no mistakes. Huaxia's 17-year-old Ye Chen has scored 5 goals at the Westfalenstadion, completing 5 admissions. He has just equaled the record of 5 goals in a single game held by Manfred Burgsmuller in 1985. At the same time, he set a Guinness World Record with 5 goals in a single game and 5 consecutive hat-tricks. We can see the 4th official on the sidelines holding up the substitution sign. Klopp is subbing Ye Chen off for Leitner. The whole team stands up and applauds, giving the warmest applause to Marvin Yi, who played perfectly today. Ye Chen, you're incredible. We hope your path in Europe's top leagues gets smoother and smoother, and that the world sees Chinese soccer. We'll support you forever. Zhang Lu laughs. Man, I love this kid more and more. But I think he has a girlfriend. If not, I'd introduce my granddaughter to him. Even though it's a bit early to be dating at 17, I think Ye Chen needs that connection. Everyone knows he's over there alone, and that relationship would fuel his motivation. The conversation continues in the live studio, at the Westfalenstadion. Ye Chen, amidst thunderous applause, walks to the sidelines and high-fives Leitner. Yi, you were amazing. I'm your fanboy. You're great too. Ye Chen smiles. Let's do this together. Klopp is waiting for Ye Chen with a grin, greeting him personally. The last few minutes are essentially garbage time. Whistle. Whistle, star. The ref blows the whistle, ending the German Cup game. Klopp shakes Ralf Ruth's hand, but Ruth's face is ashen. The team got trounced 6-0, a complete humiliation. And Ye Chen, well, let's just say he wasn't playing fair. Normally, in a game like this, you go up 2-0 or 3-0, you just play it out. But what could he do? He tried everything, but he couldn't stop Ye Chen from setting a world record. Mendez and 3 Guinness World Records officials have been escorted to the stadium entrance by security. The news media is ready. There will be a short award ceremony after the game. Klopp hugs Ye Chen. Did you hear? Manchester United has gone crazy. What's up? Ye Chen asks, surprised. They triggered your release clause for €50 million. Yi, you're not leaving, are you? Ye Chen is stunned. €50 million. What is that, even? In 2011, €1 equaled about 8.98 Chinese yuan. So, Manchester United bid 50 million for him. Am I really worth that much? Fans, the post-game show is all about Ye's award ceremony. Our Dortmund player, the 17-year-old Huaxia Yi, has set a Guinness World Record in soccer. He scored hat-tricks in 5 consecutive games, with 17 goals, surpassing Masashi Gon Nakayama's world record of 16 goals in 4 games. Let's congratulate Ye, that the Dortmund fans don't want to leave. While a few Dresden fans stormed out in disgust, Ye Chen is a beloved angel to the Dortmund fans, but to the Dresden fans, he's a terrible demon. 5 goals in a single game. Does he think he's playing FIFA? Amid the applause of nearly 80,000 Dortmund fans, Ye Chen holds the Guinness World Record certificate high. For the 3rd time, the South Stand raises a giant tifo. Countless Dortmund flags wave wildly, many fans even hold up their signs, saying Ye, please don't go. In black and white, someone starts the chant, and soon countless fans are shouting. Please don't go. Please don't go. Please don't go. Chapter 89 Manchester United activated the termination fee and met with Ferguson privately. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The fans were chanting, practically begging. Ye Chen knew what they wanted, but he couldn't say anything right now. He'd handed contract negotiations over to Mendez and needed to stick to their agreement. Mendez had been clear, no public statements. And it was true, Ye Chen had never shouted, I'm staying in Dortmund. Mendez figured Dortmund, fresh off a league championship, was rolling in dough. Besides the bonus, they'd raked in over 60 million euros in TV revenue, plus a bunch of new endorsement deals, so, Ye Chen could stay, but the new contract had to be sweet, 17 goals in 5 games. That's not something just anyone could pull off. They couldn't ignore a talent like that, especially with Manchester United throwing around a €50 million transfer offer. As the game wrapped up, the fans trickled out. Ye Chen texted Lina to head home without him. He hopped into Mendez's car. Ye, you sure about Manchester United? Mendez asked, curious. Absolutely. I'm staying in Dortmund. I love the vibe here, Ye Chen said firmly. But the Premier League atmosphere is the craziest, most passionate. That's where the best soccer is. I'll get to the Premier League eventually, but not now, Ye Chen replied, cool as a cucumber. Mendez shot him a glance. This kid, only 17, had a composure way beyond his years. Maybe it was just how he was wired. Either way, Mendez was glad he'd come to Dortmund. He would have missed out on a player of this caliber. Ye Chen's talent was off the charts, and the fact he was only 17. Unbelievable. Mendez, at 17, was grinding it out on some reserve team. He'd soon come to terms with his own limited skills and switch to being an agent. The Maybach pulled up to Dortmund's fanciest Hilton hotel. Ye Chen was a little surprised by the ritzy Hilton. He didn't let it show, of course. He could afford places like this himself if he wanted. When you meet Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill, just be yourself. They're actually pretty chill in private. Got it, Ye Chen nodded. Truth was, in both his past life and this one, Ye Chen was a big fan of Manchester United and Ferguson, mainly because the Premier League games were so good, fast-paced, physical, and the papers covered them the most. If you followed the Premier League, you couldn't miss the Red Devils. They were the kings of the league back then. He remembered those double red derbies, ordering beer and crawfish. The atmosphere was electric. Ye Chen had already experienced a double red derby in this life, albeit a U18 game. Even then, the stadium vibe and the opponent's tough defense felt just like the real thing, but after Ferguson retired, Manchester United went downhill, from the eternally unlucky Moyes to Chef Van Gaal, then Mourinho and Solskjaer. Oh, and let's not forget Rangnick, the interim coach who knew he was leaving after one season. How could a coach like that possibly get results? He'd never command respect in the locker room, except for the defensive counterattacks Mourinho used. The tactics were practically invisible. Fans jokingly called the formation XJBT, which stood for chaos. What stung the most was that, as Manchester United crumbled, their noisy neighbors Manchester City hired Guardiola. After winning the Bundesliga multiple times with Bayern, Guardiola brought his pass and move style to England. Everyone said it wouldn't work in the Premier League, but Guardiola proved them wrong. Then, in the Champions League final, he overthought things and got roasted after losing. That's just how the media is. Win, and they'll make you a god. Lose, and you're worthless. That's why Ye Chen didn't bother reading the papers much. They were just bad for you. besides Manchester City, Liverpool played great soccer too. Klopp's style was all about aggression. They put up big scores a lot. Ye Chen wasn't really a fan of any one team, but he watched a lot of games, especially when Ronaldo went to Real Madrid. He made sure not to miss Barcelona-Real Madrid and the Madrid derby, those were epic. So, in Ye Chen's house, you'd find jerseys from Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, Manchester City, AC Milan. The waiter led them to a huge private room. David Gill and Ferguson were already there. After Ye Chen scored 3 goals, they'd left the stadium early. They knew they had to move fast, or Dortmund would hike up the price for Ye Chen's new contract past €50 million. Ferguson was coming at this with everything he had. Manchester United had a League Cup match against Crystal Palace the same night as Dortmund's German Cup game. Dortmund crushed Dresden 6-0, but Manchester United lost 1-2 at home. Assistant coach Forlan couldn't pull out the win, and the media was all over it. Ferguson showing up at Westfalen Stadium had once again dominated the sports pages. Ye Chen and Manchester United were headline news. The story of Manchester United offering Dortmund €50 million for Ye Chen was going viral. Even Ronaldo posted a video saying, "Mendez showed me Ye's highlights. He's an incredible player. If he comes back to Old Trafford, he'll be a game changer and bring great honor to the club." That video had Mendez fingerprints all over it. Ronaldo's got major sway in the soccer world. This was all about building hype, on both sides. Mendez was sending a message that even if Ye Chen didn't go to Manchester United, he'd still be a superstar. Manchester United was building hype for sure. They're a business, after all, and every penny needs to be spent wisely. They wanted the world to know they paid €50 million for a 17-year-old, who used to be a Manchester United youth player. Of course, the Chinese fans were going nuts about it. "Ye, good to see you again." As the door opened, Ferguson flashed a big smile and reached out his hand. "Hello, Sir Ferguson." Ye Chen said quickly. David Gill reached out too. "Ye, great to meet you. I want to apologize for what happened before. I was too hasty." "Hello, Mr. David." Ye Chen shook his hand with a smile. Strength really is everything, otherwise, why would the CEO of Manchester United be apologizing to a 17-year-old kid? Chapter 90. Mendez's energy is beyond your imagination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 4 of them settled onto the sofa, and Ferguson's smile never wavered. The more he looked at Ye Chen, the more impressed he was. This kid was born to wear the number 7 jersey. Ever since Ronaldo left Manchester United, they hadn't found anyone worthy of it. Right now, Michael Owen, past his prime, was wearing the number 7. At 30, Owen wasn't the player he used to be, and his role on the field had diminished significantly. Manchester United was even planning to sell him, but Ye Chen, at just 17, possessed a natural charisma that even Westerners recognized, combined with incredible skills. He was the perfect fit for the number 7. "This is our second time meeting, isn't it?" Ferguson asked amiably, still smiling. "Yes, I saw you last time at Carrington," Ye Chen replied with a smile. Ferguson had been present when Ye Chen signed with Manchester United and even took a picture with him, but after that, Ferguson hadn't paid him much attention. While Manchester United's first-team training facility was at Carrington, the youth team and first team were quite separate, including their activity areas. Typically, Ferguson only scouted players from the reserve team, and only outstanding U18 players moved up to the reserves. As a newly signed U18 player, Ye Chen wasn't even on Ferguson's radar. But times had changed. The teenager they let go had become a sensation, and now Manchester United had to shell out €50 million to get him back. "I didn't see the video of your youth team match against Liverpool until later. Honestly, if I had seen it sooner, I never would have let you go," Ferguson sighed. "But no matter, we're willing to pay for our mistake, and we want to bring you back to Old Trafford in the most sincere way possible." David Gill nodded in agreement. "Ye, I admit it was a mistake on my part, but at the time, your Chinese U17 national team manager called our office. He accused you of all sorts of misdeeds, said your behavior was damaging to Manchester United's image. I asked my colleagues in China to investigate, and we made that decision based on their findings. I sincerely apologize to you for that. Gill's apology was sincere. He laid out the facts. This made Ye Chen feel better. He had been a little angry before coming. After all, he was the one who had been wronged, but Ye Chen hadn't changed his mind. It wasn't the right time to join Manchester United, and most importantly, Dortmund hadn't panicked just because of the €50 million offer. Klopp had repeatedly reached out, hoping he'd renew his contract soon. Because Ye Chen was crucial to Dortmund's Champions League hopes in the second half of the season. Klopp wasn't giving up on the Champions League this year and wanted to take this young Dortmund team all the way. I accept your apology, Ye Chen said generously, with a smile. The CEO of Manchester United had given a sincere apology, so he decided to be gracious. That's how things were done. Mendez chuckled. I think we can get straight to the transfer talks. Ye Chen nodded. Sir Ferguson, I'm sorry to say that I'm not planning to transfer to Manchester United. Why? Ferguson looked stunned. We can offer you a first-team rotation contract with a weekly wage of over £50,000, and we can guarantee at least 15 starts and 20 appearances per season. Don't you think those are good terms? Ye Chen shook his head firmly. Sorry, I don't have any plans to return to Manchester United yet, and I have clear goals for my career. I'm not planning on playing football in England for at least 3 years. The top 5 European leagues all had their own distinct characteristics. The Premier League was the most competitive and commercially successful league. It was undeniably the top league in the world, but the play was very physical, and the schedule was packed and demanding. That kind of intensity made players prone to injury, and it wasn't ideal for developing young talent. Most teams would loan players to Serie A, the Bundesliga, or League One to gain experience. Like Kevin De Bruyne, who honed his skills in the Bundesliga, League One's niche was developing young players, including players like Hazard, Kanter, and later Mbappe, Tchouaméni, and Badiashile. Oh, and Manchester United's Martial. When Manchester United had to choose between Martial and Mbappe, they went with Martial, but Ye Chen didn't like League One, especially since Paris Saint-Germain's dominance had turned it into another Bundesliga. La Liga was another league he considered, but it had its issues. He definitely wouldn't get a chance to play for Barcelona. They were still in the era of the Dream Team, and Barcelona was strong and unbeatable. They only made a preliminary offer of €20 million, which wasn't very high. As for Real Madrid's lineup was solid. Their strikers included Ronaldo, Benzema, and Higuaín. Although Real Madrid made him an offer, he suspected it was Mendez doing. Mendez's influence was beyond imagination. After all, Real Madrid's coach was Mourinho, also a Mendez client. A quote was just a phone call away, so the Bundesliga was the most suitable league for Ye Chen right now. It wasn't as traditional as Serie A, and while there was physicality, it wasn't as brutal as the Premier League. And last year, Dortmund had broken Bayern's monopoly with a youth movement, proving they were a strong team. When Ye Chen was choosing a team, one of his biggest concerns was ending up on a weak team where he wouldn't even get 5 shots on goal per game. Even with his long-range shot card, that wouldn't work. Ye Chen's immediate goal was to lead Dortmund to win the Champions League so that even if he left, he'd be a legend in Dortmund's history and a source of pride for the fans. Of course, there was also the tactical aspect. Ye Chen felt that Dortmund's tactical style aligned with his football philosophy. The all-out attack and all-defense style of play was how Barcelona and Dortmund played. While Dortmund was on the rise, they were younger and more dynamic. Ye Chen didn't want to step out of his comfort zone. He had been in Dortmund for less than a month, and he already felt at home. They had the most passionate fans and the most exciting style of play. Why leave? If he went to the Premier League and didn't like it, would he get cut again? But don't expect any sentimentality from the big clubs. David Gill apologized to him, but only because he had proven himself and Kicker's professional report had convinced them to bring him back. The ins and outs of the football world were far more complicated than people imagined. It all came down to profit.